All right, and good evening.
Good evening. Good
Yes, good
evening.
evening, folks, and welcome to Plunked. As usual, this is the show where we discuss two teams, one city, the city of Chicago. I am one of your hosts, Emilio Bucks, joined by.
I am Kristen. No, we still have to come up with a name for the end. I need something clever.
Christine.
One of the Plunksters, come up with something. I can be known as
Gotta
Kristen something.
kill a Christine or something. We come up with something.
Yeah. Give me a name, people. I'm not clever like that.
So, how's it going today?
It is going. Thank goodness it is Friday Eve.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I'm sure most people out there, hopefully, they have their weekends off. So they're
Hopefully.
thankful for Friday coming up. And yeah, but other than that, all right, nothing new and or exciting. So what about you? How are you?
I'm doing good. Kristen
Stats.
Stats.
This is your co-host, Kristen Stats.
I'm doing okay. I'm just making it through the week. Did a lot of driving last weekend. Got to do some more this weekend to go pick Miley up from band camp. So taking another trip down to U of I.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and excited to have her back home,
Yeah.
and that's about it. Enjoying a little bit of baseball, in spite of,
Yeah.
and your Cubs,
Yeah. Resurgence.
little white hotness. Maybe
Yeah.
not white hot, like beige
Yeah.
hot,
Beige hot.
beige
Beige.
hot.
Beige warmth.
Yeah, that's right. Not even quite hot,
Yeah,
but
not quite hot. Because
yeah,
you're still waiting for the shoe to drop.
yeah, it could still drop. But
This is
let's
too
keep a
shallow.
positive
Yeah.
attitude. Now the Cubs have won what, 4 straight.
Yeah. And beat a really good team.
Really good Baltimore Orioles team. Beat them convincingly all
Convincingly.
3 times.
That's the thing. Like it wasn't a one run they had to come back five down. So that is
Right.
positive. You had some good offense from, Michael Bush has found it again.
Yes,
Seah,
he has. Old
fortunately, he
Bushy.
lost Cody, but he had been doing well and
Yeah,
getting some great pitching. We didn't have to go to the bullpen much, so that was great.
that's a
That
plus.
has really been a key. That you barely saw the bullpen, so that's why they've been doing all right.
That's
Steele
a good
seems to have
sign.
found it again. Showing you why he's a Rookie of the Year candidate and going to the All Star
All-Star game.
game. So yeah, positive things for now.
For
Uh,
now,
but I'll take it.
maybe
Considering,
all we got, so let's just roll with it for now.
oh yeah, that's what you gotta do.
So with this new resurgence, when is the trade deadline?
July 30th.
July 30th. Still got some time
Yeah.
between now and then. With this new resurgence, any thoughts on being buyers or sellers? Anything changed?
I think it should. They're 3 games out of the wild card, and now they don't have as many teams to leapfrog because they're catching up. After the All Star break, they get to play Arizona, so they can catch them there. They can do some to catch St. Louis. They play them next. Um, so I think they have like 13 games between now and the trade deadline. They need to go, if they can go 9-4, 8-5, they'll be buyers because they'll be
Okay.
over 500. If they if they're still under 500, if they're under 500 and still very close in the wild card, they'll be buyers because sellers, they don't really have much Like, okay, Cody, you might think of selling him because he has options, and maybe he would decide not to come back. But now he has a fractured finger, so
Right.
for him right now, that's probably not going to happen.
That probably seals the rest of his
Yeah,
season with
yes,
the team.
and he'll probably be back. But I mean, he's number two on the team, and average. He's not having a bad year. He's
No,
having
he's
a bad
not.
power year. That's the problem. We're not getting the power that we got before. Um, you're not going to sell Saya. Ian Happ's name came up in it in trade rumors. So, but are you really getting anything spectacular? I mean, you have all these prospects. You have one of the best minor leagues in the system. Do we really need to see anything else in there? You got enough people in there that aren't even going to get to the league.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this rebuilding, I also can't see Jed Hoyer wanting to sell, because really, is he going to get another rebuilding chance?
I
That's it.
can't imagine.
Yeah, he can't have another rebuilding chance because he didn't even come close to being successful in his first rebuilding opportunity.
Right.
So if he actually has a say, I can't see him selling, because I think he would
That would
seal his
mark
fate.
his doom.
Yes. That would seal his fate if he has to sell off. And he's a failure. So
What would you say as buyers, as potential buyers, what do they go after? Are we definitely just going straight for bullpen help, or are you looking for another bat?
bullpen and a bat. I would take a third base bat and bullpen. If you can
Okay.
find someone who has a starter, because, can we really count on Kyle Hendricks? I know he had a back flare up, but he also was facing a better team in his last outing. So I don't know. Do you continue to trust Kyle Hendricks?
I don't
Now,
know what you're gonna get from Kyle Hendricks. Like
exactly.
when you try to write him off, he
Yes.
comes and throws that thing for 2, 3
Yes.
straight games, and you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay. Here's Kyle. Here's the professor.
yeah,
And then he has an outing like when he hurt his back.
right,
And so now is his back going to keep flaring up? And in the meantime, before they pull him out, he's given up 7 runs.
yeah.
And so,
I think the leash on him is, I wouldn't say short, but I don't think he's got a ton of chances at this point. You know, the guy
no.
was already demoted at one
Yes.
point this season,
Yeah.
and
And he came back as an
he
injury.
was promoted back by just sheer necessity, not because he had
Yep.
like earned his way back into the
Right.
starting rotation. So it seems like he wouldn't have much of a leash. Like, all right, if he starts stinking it up, like he's gonna get the old hook pretty quick. Yeah, you don't. As great as he's been through all of these years, or at times as good as he's been through all these years, you know, I think it's in the ball club's best interest to not give him the benefit of the doubt too many times at this point in his career.
No. So, what do you think?
What I think, what I'm wondering about is the Christopher Morel experiment coming to a close, and if so, I wonder, is he any kind of a trade asset? Does somebody see something in him that they can fix? Can he be a DH somewhere? You know, it's a big if, but
You would just wouldn't want him to be the DH here?
uh I'm fine with that as well. You know, I just wonder, as far as what do
Chips to
they
sell.
trade as buyers, what are they giving up? You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, you got to give something to
Yeah.
get, right? So I think about, like, do they start giving up prospects again? That seems almost like a bad
I think there's
idea
some.
to give a.
Don't you think there's some mid-level? Like, you're not going to give up your top, whoever those people might be, but there has to be some mid-level that probably the chances of them, like, who are your mid-level infielders, shortstop and second base? Because, like, how soon would they ever get a real chance,
Right.
unless you want to unload Swanson? Please.
Now, I think it would be harder to unload
I know.
Swanee than
I
anybody with
know.
that contract.
Woof. Woof. We talk
Jason
about
Hayward part 2 right there.
Ooh, that's what I'm having called. But Jason Hayward even hit better than 205.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, he did. He never hit 205.
No, he was like a 240. At one point, maybe he was 220 and he got it up to 240-ish.
Right.
But this,
yeah, this is.
and I know he hit a. I know he. For anyone's gonna say, but he hit. I know, but overall,
yeah, he's got a lot of work to do to get that average respectable.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting 209.
Yeah.
And I know he had a home run today, but 209 and Morel's 198. And then you have Crow Armstrong 194 and your catcher's 205. And then the great Mastrobone's 190. And he's come up though, because he was at like 145. So
oh Lord.
Haps 241. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4. Bodie really doesn't count. He hasn't had that many at bats. So there's only 4. 4. Yeah, it might, maybe not crooked commish. There's only 4 people batting over 250. At once, Tachman and Bellinger are out of the lineup because they were hitting over 250. And I know with analytics, the average doesn't matter and blah, blah, blah. But yes, it does.
I beg to differ. Yeah.
They try to say it's more about the OPS and blah, but okay. All right. So if that's the case, you're bad at that too.
Mm-hmm.
The people with the better averages also have the better OPS.
Better OPS, yeah. So they're not like really exclusive to each other. You know what I mean?
No matter what. And I know there's the wins above replacement and all that. Like, I would like to know what Swanson's is, because if his is good, it's lies. It's lies. And it probably is good because of that. Thank you, Sammy. It probably is good because of his defense, but that's lies. That's all lies. If you're saying that
they're padding stats. Think they're padding stats?
Yeah, well, it's just about his defense. Okay, I'd rather have a little average defense and some better offense.
Yeah, I mean a better balance,
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that usually.
I know.
Play less defense so your back can wake up.
Yeah. No thanks. I don't feel as though he's talked about enough when others talk about the problems of the Cubs. I feel as though they look past him and there's more concentration, for good reason. The bullpen's garbage, but there's more talk about what Morel, Bellinger, Happ. There's more talk about what they're doing, but this man's the highest paid, highest contract ever in Cubs history. And he's hitting 209 in his second season here.
That's interesting. Is he some sort of media darling?
I think they're just giving him chances because he's so highly paid and he seems nice. He's quiet. His wife is the best star in the city out of the two. She's leading the Red Stars and just doing great things. So maybe they give him a break because his wife is so good. But, they love his defense and all blah, blah, blah. But if he gets
209.
Right, exactly. That's a problem.
Yes.
It's as big a problem as it is with Morel hitting 198. It's as big a problem with Mastrobone. I know he's just here. It's a bigger problem as this terrible, terrible catching situation. Like, if you can find anyone who has a catcher, but I don't know anyone who's given up catchers.
So what's the word on Nito? Nato?
Yeah. Yeah, better. He seems to throw out people a little better than Gomes, but other than that, what's the difference?
Yeah,
they kept Gomes for this.
Right.
I mean, I guess he got a hit today. He's hitting 205, so his average has gone up.
Jeez.
It's and we've been waiting for, we heard about Amaya for so long. And so that's what I feel about prospects. And years ago, I believe it was Dan McNeil saying that prospects are suspects. You do all this for these prospects,
Mm-hmm.
and they can come up and be failures. In the meantime, you passed up on maybe getting yeah, thanks. Thanks. There was a reason why I think he was DFA'd when the Cubs got Nito. But
Yeah.
you hold on to prospects because you think they're going to be good, and they've been in there for 3 years. My thing is, if after 2 years you haven't been brought up, you can go. If you're that much of a can't miss prospect, why aren't you up here after 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's like 2 years in college or more if they actually went to college.
Yeah.
It's time to either going pro or you're not.
And if you have someone in their way, but you believe they're that good, then it's time to trade that person in their way. Like that's kind of why the Dodgers traded Michael Busch here. He wasn't, Freddie Freeman. There were people in his way. So he wasn't going to get up here. Okay, so that's what you do. You either trade them to get stuff you need, or you trade the person in their way if they're that good.
Yeah. Understood. So what is the latest on Bellinger's hand? Is he going to
He's on the
make it
IL.
to the IL?
It's his middle finger's fractured. So I don't know. I'm sure that'll be passed. Not saying that someone still won't trade for him, because he will come back. It's not a full season, but you're definitely not getting what you thought you might get,
Right.
which I don't even think was that much, because although he's playing all right, how much are you really going to give up?
He's probably not really a difference maker for anybody. I had wondered what Atlanta was going to do losing Acuna, but and I still wonder if they're going to make a move.
And it's the Phillies they need to solve their center field, and he's a good defensive player and he's a good offensive player, but the Cubs are probably going to overvalue, doing the Chicago way, when we overvalue. And so they're not gonna be able to get what they think they should get. And they want to do it because they don't want to lose them, but don't weaken yourself in the wild card. Like it's a pipe dream kind of, but they're already leapfrogging people. They're only 3 games out, and it's not as if those that they have to leapfrog are that spectacular. One is the Mets, San Diego. They're only 2 games over 500. Arizona's a game under, and Pittsburgh's 3 games under. So it's not as if it's impossible to get up there. It's gonna be hard, but they can do it, and they're facing several of the teams that are ahead of them. So now's the time to make a move.
Even if this team does make the wild card, do you see them making a deep playoff run?
Not if they don't, just like what the gentleman said. Not if they don't get those pieces that we mentioned. They need a bullpen. Yeah. I know they have some help coming. Merriweather, and I forgot, was it Wick? Someone else, Brent Brown, somebody. They started their rehab. Alzolay is going to start his rehab. Now, those are no guarantees, because it's not like they were doing that well when they were here. But you get some help that way. But if they don't get the bat and bullpen, then no, they won't. Because they have 3 strong pitchers. Shota, Steele, Tyone. I am not sold on Wisniewski. I know he's only doing it because Wicks got hurt, Brown got hurt. So they won't make it if they don't get the help. But if they sell and then just get young people, what are they doing next year? So they're not doing anything. you know, so they're going to lose again next year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what their plan is. I thought you go get Craig Counsell because you're win now. You don't you don't go and sign Craig Counsell to that type of deal to win
For
in
a
9
rebuild.
years. Yeah, no, you
To
don't.
go backwards.
Exactly. So I I know things didn't work out the way they thought, but I don't know how they thought that bullpen was going to do well. I don't. It's really Dodgers racing, and then way back is the fourth team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of truth in
it is.
that. But then we've seen, that fourth team or that wild card team surprise us and
Mhm.
make that run. That's what's crazy about this game is it's
I,
not necessarily the best team that wins; it's the
yeah, it's
hottest
the
team
team.
that wins.
Because what was it last year? Arizona got hot. I mean, and then look
Arizona,
at the
that's
Marlins.
exactly
Marlins
what
were
I'm
in the playoffs last year, and they're one of the worst teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I don't know if they don't buy, even if they buy for future, but selling. And when I'm sorry, when I say buy for the future, I mean next year. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, like
so yeah,
immediate
like
future.
what Crooked Commission's saying. Yes, to reload instead of a rebuild. Like, even if you're buying and you don't make a deep run, but you have a better foundation, it's almost as if the Cubs, when they were building this offseason, they were building as if they were like the 2015 Cubs.
Right, like
They
they
had
were
been in the
right there.
playoffs. Yeah, they had been in the playoffs. They were right there. All
They
we're
didn't
missing
even
is
make the
Craig Counsell.
playoffs last year.
Exactly. They fell apart last year.
Yeah.
And they made moves like all they needed was Craig Counsell. They took their time with getting Cody Bellinger. They didn't go after any of the pitchers who were available. Yeah, some of them are on the IL right now, but they're coming back. And half of your team's been on the IL, so really no difference. But they cited finances is why they didn't go after some of these pitchers. So you're either going to spend money or you're going to have to get rid of your young talent. So which
It's
one are
one
you
or the
going to
other.
do?
Yeah.
And I know what they're rated and all that, but I don't believe it till I see it. Because I'm just going to be honest. Besides his defense and speed, I don't see anything really out of PCA. And I know he still has time to develop and everything. But have you seen anything on the it factor with him?
He brings great energy. He's a likable kid. He's great defense, stealing bases. He really mixes up pitchers, when he's on the base path. I like to see that. But no, he's not able to manage against major league pitching. But a lot of guys aren't managing against major league pitching right now. Guys that have been in the league for years, guys who should be managing, he's when you see Dansby's only hitting 209, it's like, well, all right, well, PCA is right behind him. Like, at least his excuse is
I'm
he's
young. But
young.
okay, here's my question. Think back to when Luis Robert came up.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it right away, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Chris Bryan came up
Right away.
right away.
Yeah. Eloy
PCA,
right away.
Eloy, right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
See that?
Yeah. I hear.
I mean, I'm not saying, and then there's other slow developers. I understand that too. There are
Yeah.
other people like, what? This is trash. And then Anthony Rizzo is an example.
He took a while.
It took him a while. So
He
I
took
know
a while.
that.
Had to go to another team.
Right. I know that happens. But we were also told that this guy
Was the guy. He was the shit.
And
Wait
everyone,
until this guy comes up.
yes, that is what we were told. And those other two I mentioned, the three we talked about, said the same thing. And as soon as they came up, it's like, oh yeah, yep, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to, I was just trying to think of his positive attributes, and he does have some, but yeah, that bat is
Yes.
is
And
he's not, and what's crazy is they're sending back down to Iowa, and he's killing the ball when he goes back down. And I know, I get it. That's the difference between Iowa and Chicago. I get it, but it's like, I mean,
he's
he's
there.
murdering the
Yeah.
ball in AAA when he's down there. And then to be so far off from that when he
Yeah.
comes up to the show is kind of disappointing.
But then doesn't that tell you how many pitchers will never make it to the league?
Yeah.
Like he's murderizing them. Gets up
Lifers.
here.
There's guys that are they're lifers. They're
Yes. And that's why I always feel like I'm glad he's here. Nothing I'm saying means send him back down because this is how he needs to learn.
mm-hmm.
Like he thinks he's got it all together, rightfully so, because he's killing the pitching down there. So many prospects are doing so well in the minor leagues, and then they get here like, whoa,
And
nobody
it's
pitches like
night
this
and
in
day.
minor leagues. So this is where he needs to learn. And I feel that way about several of the Sox prospects. Like, let them up here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are we watching these not going to be here next year people being bad? Let's watch some of the future be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And let them work it out and see what
Yeah,
you got.
figure it out. Figure out with the pitching they're actually going to see. There are so many people in the minor leagues. God bless them all. They're not going to get up here.
Right.
Though if Pete Crow Armstrong and others are keep hitting you this hard, you're not coming up here. You're not. You're not getting these people out.
It's true.
Yeah. What about that? Maybe they didn't juice the balls this year.
Bats cold.
Hats for bats.
Hats for bats.
You know.
Yeah,
What else?
Triple A legend.
So
sure
many.
Is.
Cricket commission, we've seen so many come through this city, haven't we? You know, I wonder if baseball during the All-Star break, they're going to take a look at all their numbers and see if it's time for some juice balls to enter the second half of the season where it's going to be hotter.
Because all that we talk about with how poor they're hitting, it is like an epidemic. It's around the league. Batting averages are in fact down around the league. Yeah, I don't know. They need to, like you said, add a little bit more pep to that ball or do something. Yeah, because I mean, there's only so many pitching duels the fans really want to watch. Like we want to see some, you want to see some balls in play. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's got to be like steroid era and flying out of the park every time, but like
that was great.
You just want balls in play,
Yeah, because you remember they thought like getting rid of the shift was going to help because it was bad last year.
Right.
And it's not just the shift. It's I don't know what these players are swinging for. Like, for example, PCA, use your speed. You should be hitting that ball on the ground all the time. You're going to beat out most of the stuff. Bunt, like get yourself hot. Get yourself on base. Steal. You know, a single for PCA is going to turn into a triple.
Now, one thing I do think is going to happen is no matter how the season ends, I would expect there to be a new hitting coach for the Cubs.
Gosh, yes. What's his name? Dusty Kelly or something like that?
Yeah. And he wasn't like even
Craig Counsell's
guy. You know what I mean? Like, so
did David Ross pick his guys or did the Cubs pick? Because why would you keep any of David Ross's people?
I'm not sure. I feel like they had to have helped David Ross and a completely unexperienced manager, first year, any kind of manager. I would imagine they helped him pick his staff, and which is why they kept so many of them when they brought in Craig. Like Willie Harris probably needs to go.
Yeah, I was about to say because what they at one point, and they probably still are, they were leading the league and getting thrown out at home.
Thrown out at home. and
Like
that's a bad look on your third base
he's
coach.
lucky that nobody was like Tommy Pham when he talked about
Right.
his third base coach sending him, and then he got hurt after it
Yeah, he
because
was
that
pissed.
time he most recently when he sent Ian Happ.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like,
Uh,
come on, Ian Happ.
Ian Happ. He's fast-ish. That's what you send PCA on.
Right.
Maybe a Christopher Morel. If you had a Javi Baez, because he's going to be able to slide, he's going to do a crazy slide.
Yeah, I think
Not
Willie Harris's days. I
yeah,
like Willie Harris as a
me
White Sox
too.
player, not a
I
great
like him
player,
here.
but but I think his time is coming to an end. The hitting coach time got to be coming to an end.
And let me ask you another question. Do you, as a fan of baseball and the White Sox, do you find this team as boring as some of us Cubs fans find them?
The Cubs team,
Yeah, personality wise.
yeah, because you don't quite have an identity. Like you're not like this great home run or hitting team. Your pitching is okay, but it's not like overwhelming. The defense is not. I mean, when you got Morel at third,
Yeah, he
your
hasn't played third in a while.
okay, and then Dansby hasn't. Dansby's still good at short.
He's gotten better. Yeah, he is
Yeah,
definitely at the
he has
beginning of the year.
struggled, so it's not
Yeah,
like they've
yeah,
been this defensive juggernaut. Like they were much better defensively
yes.
last year, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So like without that kind of as a kind of like your calling card, and then here's the thing: like nobody cares about the personalities on a losing team.
True.
You know what I mean? And so like there may be some cool guys on the team, but they're losing,
So
and so
nobody.
their personality doesn't really come out in that way, and you don't
Yeah.
want to watch them smiling and doing all of this right now because like you're losing. What are you smiling about? Like,
The two with the best personalities don't speak English. Shota and Saya.
yeah, this is
They
true.
make the most jokes, like through their interpreter. They're like
You are very right. You are very right.
we got to get a secondhand information. Justin Steele just seems angry. Like when he gets fired up, it's anger.
Yeah.
Ian Happ,
Kind of
his
like a John Lester type of
yes,
real.
yes, he is.
Yeah.
He'll drink a beer with you in a minute, but he's angry. Like Ian Happ is like RoboCop, kind of like expressionless most of the time.
Yeah.
Face. And Christopher Morel has personality, but he's out too much. So like he
He's
strikes
not
out too much.
playing well enough for us to care about his personality.
That
That's
home
the
run every 2
problem.
games. That doesn't do anything.
Like you stink. Yeah, you got a great smile, but you stink.
At the beginning of the year, I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, he's like our newest hobby."
Right.
Woof.
But he's not
Yeah,
making a difference on the field like Javi was.
yeah. And then Cody Bellinger, but he also seems like he smokes. Like he just seems high a
In
lot.
the dugout.
Yeah, you've been smoking. Did you take a gummy? Like he looks like so like yeah.
He's like, whoa, he's kind of like got that Spicoli thing from Fast Times at Richmond High going
right.
on. Like, whoa.
That's all that's the look he has a lot of times.
His eyes always half closed.
Dansby just looks sad. Like he's like, I suck. He just looks
he gets down on himself, and so you feel sorry for him, but it doesn't make him necessarily likable,
PCA is that kid who has so much energy he wants to get out, but nobody else has it around him. Like
so he's like the kid with ADHD, like over attentive, overactive ADHD.
Somebody want to have fun with me?
He's cool, but he's too much sometimes.
Yes, and everyone's like, "Fool, we're losing. Go sit down.
We're down 8-2.
You go sit by Christopher Morel." And then the catchers are just lost. And let's see, Michael Bush is just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he hasn't quite been here long enough to
No.
like be endeared as a Cub yet.
Mm-mm.
You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
He's
you
just like
know,
he's still such a stranger.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. It's
Exactly.
like,
He doesn't quite feel like he's part of the crew
no,
yet. You know what I
no.
mean?
He's like your parents knew this person they're dating and they brought their kid to the reunion. You're like, yeah,
Like
okay, you're
hi,
cool and all.
like hi, yeah,
Yay, home run.
yeah, yeah,
Who are you again?
right,
And then Nico is just he's like middle child. He's just there.
yeah. Oh, I forgot. We haven't even talked about Nico. I totally forgot about him.
He's I know he's playing with he has a broken bone in his hand, but it wasn't so
Mhm.
bad he couldn't play. He's been a little disappointing. He's actually come up in some trade talks.
Mm,
The defense, he's way better than Swansby. Combining his first and last name.
mm,
He's way better than Swanson,
mhm.
but it's been kind of disappointing compared
Yeah, he
to
hasn't had the year he had last year.
yeah. So it's just okay. I guess you're
Overall, there are just a couple of guys who haven't quite been as good as they were last year. Nico
Mhm,
being one of them.
mhm.
Even as good as Cody's been, he hasn't been like he was
In the
last
same,
year.
yeah, he needs the power.
Yeah. Um,
And even
Ian's come around, I feel like.
yeah, he's gotten, but and this is just what he is. I think
Mhm.
I think we've always had way more higher expectations than we should have had on him.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's a good player. That's it. Christopher Morel is not playing as well as he did last year, hitting wise, like average wise. Um, so there's just so many disappointments. Patrick Wisdom, he would have personality, but he's bad and doesn't play.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's not good
and then
enough.
and then the manager really
Now he really doesn't have much personality.
he does not. He does not.
He's
Even
like,
when he makes a
wow, I
joke.
don't know what to
Right.
do. He's kind of got that he looks like your neighbor who just wants to talk to you about like lawn feed all day and stuff like with just bore you to death. He looks like
Even when he tries to make a joke, it's like,
it went over. It was flat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's nothing exciting about him. Even when things are bad, he doesn't like. I don't need you to yell, but I need you to be a little snarky sometimes when things are going
Right.
bad. Like, give me
Right.
something. Even David Ross gave you a personality.
Yeah, you could tell David Ross was a little snarky. He had a little edge
Yeah,
to him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Like,
you could tell.
and the team had a better personality last year. So I mean, I
Hmm.
guess you do take on your manager's personality some, but like let's show some life. Do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. They could definitely be a little bit more lively, but it's tough when you're losing
Yeah. And that's the only reason why I'm paying attention to this because they're losing.
because they're
I
losing.
wouldn't care if they were winning.
Yep. Yep. And they'd be more likable and they'd have an
True.
identity
True.
and you'd know the players and the personalities and stuff. And
Yeah.
but
Mm.
so Deb says, you gotta take it old school, Lupinella and kick some dirt up.
Did he get thrown out the game once so far this year?
I'm
And
not
he was
sure.
probably like, "Come on, guys,
Like, come on, okay, I
throw
need I
the
need you to throw me
strike."
out so I
You're
can be
like,
tough.
listen, just act like I said the magic word, okay? I
Right,
gotta
right. I'm
fire
gonna
up
need
my
you to run me
guy.
out.
He's just gonna do some hand motions,
Right.
guys.
Thank you for you doing a great job, Ump.
Sending thank you cards. Thanks for kicking me out, pal.
I had to, he's
That,
got to
that.
stand up for his guy.
So now, what
How about
about your
those other guys?
yeah? What about your fellas? Your White Sox? What's going on?
You know, not a whole lot to say. It's just kind of more of, I won't say more of the same. They are playing better in
Yeah,
spots.
yeah.
Um, they're just not good enough to close out games. You know, they don't have the horses to close out games. They you know compete through the first 5 to 6 innings, and then they figure out a way to give it away. I mean, they're a losing team, and losing
Right.
teams figure out ways to
Mm-hmm.
lose, even when they're winning the game and have momentum. The losing teams figure out a way to give it away, and that's like that's what you see right now. And it's hard to even act overly serious about them. Uh, they're just they just don't have enough talent. You know what I mean? And
Mm. Mm.
they're still among the last in batting average, I believe. Let's look up some stats here.
The fact that
They're the highest batting average on the team
Andrew Vaughn, 240.
at 240. Would that? Yeah. I mean, well, Tommy Pham is hitting 259.
But is he out? Is he still out?
He played the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
We
I'm
have,
not
well,
sure.
on the
It
MLB,
does
they
say
have
leader.
Andrew Vaughn.
It does list Vaughn as leading at 240, but I know like even I'm sleepy. I can't remember who I'm.
The White Sox are 29th in batting average at 220. I
Out
mean,
of
but the
30 teams.
Cubs are 23rd at 232. Seattle Mariners have the worst batting average at 219.
Wow. I'm
You
a little
know,
surprised at that.
as bad as Colorado is, they're 16th. I mean, let's see, the highest team average when we were talking about is Houston at 264.
Huh.
That's the highest batting average for a team this year. The Padres 261.
Tommy Pham needs to be traded at his peak. Yes, Jeremy, and I'm afraid that we've passed his peak. Is what I'm worried about, is that his peak he might have peaked like a month ago, which is what I'm worried about. Like I would have, as soon as Ronald Acuna Jr. got hurt, I would have been calling Atlanta like, hey, do you want Tommy Pham? Like, I know at the time he was our best hitter. At the time he was our best player. Like, you're not going anywhere with Tommy Pham. You're not doing anything. Like, you should have been on the phone trying to move Tommy. And who's to say that they didn't? I don't know.
Maybe they said no.
Maybe they said no. Or
Or I was about to mix up every Chicago sports team. I was like, Bears booed the Sox. Maybe the Sox wanted too much. You know how we love to overvalue.
How we love our guys.
We will overvalue. We will trade you too late. In OPS, the White Sox are last at 631.
Okay.
The top OPS is Baltimore at 769. Home runs, the Sox are 26th, Cubs are 24th. Sox have 84, Cubs have 91. The top team is Baltimore at 147. The top teams in strikeouts, this is batting. Seattle Mariners are number one. They have 976 strikeouts. Cubs and Sox are 8 and 9. Cubs 838. White Sox 820. On base percentage, White Sox are 29th at 282, and the Cubs are 14th at 312. I didn't know it was that good. And slugging, White Sox are last. The White Sox are 30th at 349. The Cubs, not that much better, 23rd at 375. The top slugging team is Baltimore. Cubs
They got
handled
a
them.
lot of bats in
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Caught stealing. The Cubs have been caught stealing 11 times. The White Sox 14. And stolen bases. The White Sox have stolen 60. The Cubs have stolen 77. The top team is the Reds at 133. Milwaukee's second at one with 128 stolen bases. Made his debut.
I hope so too, Jeremy. I hope so too. I mean, we're at least 2 years away from competitive.
Seeing the light
Yeah.
of, seeing what you need to, because you always need some veterans.
Yeah.
So you think you're like 2 years away from seeing what veterans you need to round out this team.
Right.
He's a pitcher.
And
20.
I hope that they can hold on to Garrett Crochet. Never thought I'd be saying that,
And some people are saying trade him because by the time you're ready, he won't be good.
Yeah, I mean, but who knows? Maybe he won't be, but maybe he will be.
Maybe he will be.
Like he's had a lot of surgery, so like he doesn't have a ton of miles on him. Based on his age, he hasn't pitched a ton. And he's even limited on innings this year. They cap him at somewhere around 60, 70 pitches a game, which is unfortunate because I've seen them lose some games after pulling him rather early. But, what's the point of risking his arm just to get a handful of extra wins on a terrible season at this point, Luis Robert and trade talks, of course. I hate to see it happen, but I know it's a part of this thing and it's part of what has to happen. And I just hope the shit works next time. Like Rick Hahn looked like some sort of baseball mastermind at one point. Like in 2020, he looked like some sort of genius. He had all of this talent. He locked them up early with contracts.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was looking like, oh man, look, he really put a team together. And then it just, and I know like the whole Tony La Russa thing played a part in it, but it was more than that too.
Yeah, it has to have been.
It was more than that. It was the injuries, Aloy's injuries, and then Moncada's injuries, and then the complete disappearance of Tim Anderson, who is out, not even in the league with a team right now, I think.
I don't think so. How did it, for so many people, not just Tim Anderson, but so many of our former stars from this city, like falling off? Even Schwarber, he's still playing well, but not to, I mean, he's still playing.
Yeah.
And he still hits. And like Chris Bryant's still playing, Javi's still playing, Anthony Rizzo's on the IL.
Chris Bryant and Javi are barely playing, right?
Right. Chris Bryant may need back surgery. It's just like, how did it go so bad? Because even once they were still good when they left here.
Right.
They weren't, were they as good as the championship? No, but they were still good because they got paid well. And for it to go bad, and then the fact that Tim Anderson with his personal problems and then getting hit by what's his name?
Jose Ramirez.
And I mean, I know it was happening before that,
but it's just a bad look. You
Right.
he was definitely on a major slide before the knockout, but
But he
the
like was
knockout
literally
just
a
like was
knockout.
like
Like,
that just put the exclamation point on the demise of
and
one
I don't mean to
Mr.
laugh at it.
Timothy Devon Anderson
And
Jr.
just what the year before he hit that wonderful home run in the cornfield
The
game.
cornfield, yeah, he
Field
was then talked
Drew.
about him being the face of baseball.
Yes.
New Jackie Robinson
And the change the game.
changed the game.
Not just him, the whole like, but it's how did it somebody needs to do studies on how
On
did it
how
go
this
so bad?
happened. Yeah,
Because
there's
I
got
know
to be
when
some sports psychology.
yes. And I know he mentioned about, not having people to talk to when he was having his problems, other black men, African American men. But that was his whole career. So why did it all of a sudden that bothered him so that
Right.
he couldn't recover?
Some
There's some
guys, the more attention, the harder it is. You know what I mean? And we've
yeah,
seen
and
not everybody is built for that. We've seen that across all sports. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
and
It's a lot. It's a lot of
the,
pressure.
the sport was really starving for a new black star, and he
Yeah.
was it. He
He was
it
it.
was they were laying it right there for him,
Yep.
and he was doing
And he was
so
running with it.
well.
He was running
Yeah,
with it.
and then even in Chicago magazines, papers highlighting him and his family and just everything about him. He had a
The sneaker
smile.
balls and all
He
sorts
had
of
swag. He had everything that baseball needed
stuff. Hmm.
out of a black player. And I mean, they still have Mookie, but it was going to be given to Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
Like
It was Tim
it
Anderson's
was
to take.
Tim's to take. Some studies need to be
Went
done.
from sugar to shit that quick.
Man.
Yeah, because Ronaldo Lopez is killing in Atlanta now.
Maybe because he's away.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Ray Lowe. I liked when he was here. You know what I mean? And he was valuable, and that's why we traded him. I can't remember what we got for him. Some prospects that I don't know who their names are, but like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that he's doing well. And then to get with an organization like the Atlanta Braves, where they definitely know how to groom some pitchers.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we talk about. We talked about it last time we were on about how you can just see the difference in a well-run organization. You
Yes.
can see what can happen if you're with a well-run organization.
Hmm. How the players respond to being in a
Yes,
well-run
yes,
organization,
yes,
how they prepare themselves, how they come to work every day is it's indicative of where they are, you know what I mean? And when you come into a shit show every day, and we've had shit show jobs before, and you know how your attitude is going in. It's
mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm.
how do you take this seriously? Like, and
Yeah,
and yet and still people still love to stay here after I guess there's a difference between loving the city of Chicago versus
mm-hmm.
the organization you play for, because we see a lot of players who wind up
Stay,
staying here post their career, or
come back.
uh,
It's a good fan base. Every team has a good fan base. Like I know we make jokes about the Sox fan, but they have a good fan base.
we just don't go
Like
to the park
exactly,
enough.
you're just not spending any money on them, but you're gonna root for them. You're gonna fight for them. You're
Yeah,
gonna get in an argument. It doesn't matter.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're 41 games under. I'm gonna argue about my team. Sox
absolutely.
fans, all of the fans of every team, they're still gonna wear their gear. Hey,
Hey,
crazy.
Cito, what's up, man?
They're still going. So I think players also fall in love with the fact that we fall in love with our celebrities. Our athletes are our celebrities. Ooh, morning.
South
Hey,
Korea.
South
All right.
Korea, morning.
See you, Ace.
I hope we're bringing sunshine and lollipops to your day. Talking about these awful teams, these awful organizations. Um, it's just you're tired of seeing it. Like if the Cubs do sell, every team is going in this. Every major team except for the Red Stars are in a rebuilding moment. Even the Sky, they have stars, but they're still trying to get
they're
back to where they
still
used to be.
they're
The
still
Bears
trying
are
to pick it up.
the Bears are going to be better, but they're still actually rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
How do you treat your fan base like this? Every team?
It's we said it, and we said it before. I'll say it again. We are in abusive relationships with these teams.
And
And
we
they keep throwing us down the stairs and punching us in the kidney and like, oh, he loved me.
and then they bring one star. I'm like, oh, they love
Right, oh, they love me. He took me to the Ponderosa.
I mean, because then
Some
we have
makeup on your eye and take you out to
to
dinner.
be making fun of abuse.
Oh, domestic violence. I'm sorry. Domestic
Sorry,
violence.
it could be triggering. We apologize. But like, okay, and then we rebuild, and it's not from being good before.
Right, from being terrible. Like the Sox are rebuilding from
failures.
From failure.
We had to keep rebuilding from a failure. That doesn't make sense. That's all leadership.
Well, I don't know. Have we talked since the Bulls? We haven't talked since.
No, since the
good time to pivot. Before
we
go, we can pivot into a little Bull spit. DeMar, DeRozan no longer a Bull.
The king of the fourth. Now he has to compete with Darian Fox for the king of the fourth.
King of the fourth. So
they were both like 1 and 2, I think, for king of the fourth.
So best of luck to him and his family. He'll be missed this season because we are going to struggle.
But you know what I find funny? We all are like there because he's a good person and what he's done off the court with the players. So I understand that before I even make this comment. I know why. But it's like the way people were emotional about him leaving. He didn't win anything here either.
No.
Like
he provided some. We're all about just some good moments.
Yes, because everyone who is being traded and gonna be traded didn't win.
Nothing.
Did you see the stat about out of 100 and something teammates Zach has had, 70 plus aren't even in the league anymore?
Wow.
When they blame, you know how like a lot of people are blaming how he hasn't been a winner and his teams have been bad. Out of 100 and something players, 70 plus aren't even in the league.
Wow.
And it's not because they got old.
It's because they were just bad. And most of them were on these Bulls teams.
Yes. When I saw that, I was like, wow. That's bad.
He really has. It's a shame these guys spend their best days with these terrible organizations and they waste their prime.
They do.
Playing for the Bulls or
And when we talk about trading, one of the problems is trading Zach's contract. When Zach's contract was signed during that time, it was a tradable contract. The problem is when they changed the CBA and they had this new aprons, it's the timing. So the Bulls should have traded him 2 years ago when it would have been okay with his salary, because there's plenty of people making that money. Casey Johnson explained this on a podcast, that one of the things that, like when the Bulls did it and other executives, great, this is going to be a great contract to be able to trade if things don't work out. That's why they were willing to do it. No one knew that when they did sign this new agreement, and that's why some people are dogging like CJ McCollum, and I forgot the other player that's part of the leadership for negotiating this. They didn't know that this second apron and all this stuff that was going to happen was going to make it very hard for teams to go over the tax to do these aprons. So Casey Johnson was explaining that it's the timing, not necessarily it's the contract because of what the way the times are. If it would have happened a while ago, it wouldn't have been a problem. So he did explain that because someone asked him, why are the Bulls having so many problems? And he was like, he's not a bad guy. Everyone likes him. He's always been professional, besides the one time when he pushed the PR person's hand out of the way. That was like his only blip. But since everything, all these new things kicked in for contracts, that's what makes it hard. And so they feel that the picks, and he just said that the picks that they got for DeMar, they're hoping to turn those around for Zach, but it's still a salary problem. They needed to attach Alex Caruso like a person.
What about the cash? Can they attach the cash with LaVine?
That's what. Yeah, I guess they can, but I don't know how that works. Most people are just saying that they're going to attach those picks, but maybe they can attach the cash. I don't know. But at this point, you have to let him, and then you're going to look for someplace for Vooch. And, and people are like, there's some people like, yeah, get him out of here. Get him out of here. We are doing them all a favor at this point.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
DeMar was happy to go because he was like, this is what we're doing. Yeah, somebody help me out. I know you guys like me. That's why they work so hard. And even San Antonio likes them. So that's why they put it all together. But I think everyone is like, all right, you guys have your youth movement. Zach's like, I only got a few more years on these knees and this foot. Which is like, I only got a few more years on this back and just playing. So yeah, let me go. Set me free. But so the Bulls just seem to still want something back. Like, you're just gonna have to let them go.
Let them go.
Like, they don't want to take on bad contracts. Like, they have all these rules because what they're trying to do is the retool. They're trying to get young players who actually who know how to play, like a Josh Giddey, that Jalen Smith. They want young people, but they have to be able to play so that they can try to rebuild quickly. Well, you're not getting that with Zach, and you're not going to get that with Vooch. So
you're lucky you got anything for DeRozan.
Exactly. And what is Chris Duarte? Another 6'5" guard?
Where was Ace? We have a guard. Another 6'5" guard. You know how they love those undersized guards.
6'5". That is what we love. They want to keep the. So what are they doing then? They're just gonna have to give up Zach for. They're gonna have to take on a bad contract. If someone has to take on Zach's large contract, you're gonna have to take somebody else.
Take on the large one in return.
You're gonna have to, or you keep him. But I don't know who sits on the bench. You keep him and trade him in February. Trade him, let him play.
That's the deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point, like, is there any chance that? Do you think there's any chance on opening night with the Bulls that Zach LaVine is a Bull? Or do they move him for peanuts if they have to, just to move him?
I think there's a chance, but I think they move him for peanuts.
Yeah.
To move
just for the sake of moving him. I think they'll move him for nothing at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, that's what they're going to get is a bunch of nothing.
It's at this point, I was always dead set against any of them going because I know that they weren't going to go anywhere, but I'd rather watch people I know than all these unknowns being bad.
Yeah, and guys that try and compete.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm starting to feel how I felt with Justin Fields. Just do it already, please. Can you just get rid of all of them and
let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's get going.
Let's just be bad. And then what's going to be rich and delicious is if the Bulls aren't even that bad and they still don't have a chance for the lottery to get Cooper Flag. Because that's what everyone's going for. And like people are like saying tank so they can get him. This isn't the NFL. The last place team doesn't automatically get the first pick. The Bulls got their chance that one time with Derek. It's a long time before they're gonna get another number one pick.
That's gonna happen again.
So and you know, Kobe's not trying to lose. Io's not trying to lose. Patrick Williams has so much to prove. So
or does he? Because he got his contract anyway.
Your face. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, your face when I said
Patrick Williams, I swear.
That is a hill they are gonna die on, isn't it?
He is really he plays well with Krause's, with Reinsdorf's grandchildren or something, or great grandchildren or something. He's invited to the family picnics and shit.
And then someone said he's still not even healthy.
I've heard, and that's funny you mentioned that. I heard from a source, take it for what you will, that his injury is much more serious than initially reported. And no, he still is not recovered completely from this injury. I can't even remember what the injury is.
It's something with his foot. You remember, because that's why I talk about what are they doing with people's feet on the Bulls.
Yeah.
It's something because he, Torrey Craig, Zach, and somebody else, they all had feet problems. And so his has to be more serious than Zach because Zach is working out.
Right.
He's actually ready to go. He's passed. He's cleared, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and Lonzo Ball's clear for basketball.
Less than peanuts. You're right, Crazy Ace.
Yeah.
Because at this point, the Bulls have zero leverage. They played their hand. They told you, we want this guy gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And even the press has let it out that it's irreconcilable.
And then what's his name? Rich Paul had an interview with Casey Johnson because he kind of want to set the record straight about some of the rumors and things like that. And also he knows he needs to help repair some of the damage that people have done to Zach's reputation so that they can get a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's on the, hey, my guy's a good guy. We're seeing
campaign.
Zach's always posting videos and he looks good in his videos. So they are on a campaign to get out of here. And can you blame any veteran? You don't want to be here because they're rebuilding. Like,
want to be here.
I gotta have maybe you do that on the tail end of your career. Come in, be comfortable, help some guys, but none of them are on the tail end yet. I mean, they're getting closer.
No.
But they want to compete. And so they signed Patrick Williams to all that money because I guess they had to. Otherwise, he would go someplace else. He's not healthy. If it's that serious, how many more times is that going to flare up through the year? They're trying so hard, AK and Mark Eversley, because they picked him over Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, they are going to fight to the death to show that he's at the same level.
He's a true number 4 pick.
Yeah, they're going to lose that fight.
Because they're not fooling anybody. And Patrick Williams is who he is. I mean, the proof is there. I mean, can't stay healthy.
No.
Kind of soft. No fight, no dog in him.
And, you're saying, they say Zach held him back. DeMar held him back.
Right. Yeah, right.
They used to call plays from in the beginning of every game to get him going. And he would go 0 for 5.
He would miss the shot or cower away from the ball.
Pass it, and then his own teammates were yelling at him. Like, these players will call for you.
Right.
injured or X amount of playing time. So will it be a full 90 million? I guess. Yeah, I think it has to be.
I don't know. That's like in football. I don't know.
I don't think so because they already know he's not healthy. They knew it, but they didn't want to get. They didn't want him to triples.
He is
999. Who was that? Wasn't that a politician with that 999?
Yeah.
They signed him because they didn't want him to get out there for another team. Well,
I hear you, Ace. But it's looking like that's exactly what happened.
Bulls. It's the Bulls. So maybe there is an out. Hey, you went lower than me. Yeah, I guess 9 assists was too much.
Yeah, 9 assists, 9 rebounds is too much.
9 rebounds is too much.
More like 4 rebounds, maybe.
7's probably too many, Cricket.
7's too many rebounds. T-Will is not pulling up 7 rebounds.
And he seems like such a nice guy. Yeah. Yes. Crazy.
Yes, Ace.
Yes.
That's
I guess I should call it Crazy Ace TV. Yes. That is exactly. And that's always been their problem.
Well,
on that note.
Once again, we end on a sour note. That's all we got, people.
And we have to watch it all year.
All year. Because we've committed. Well, if it matters, it does make it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
If it matters.
It does. But sure.
Yeah. And, got some interesting football coming up.
Yeah.
Got a season of Hard Knock coming up. The first time I would have ever watched.
Yeah.
Hard
It's
Knock.
on HBO Max, right?
Yeah.
All right. I got that.
So as long as you still got it, then that means I got it.
I didn't think you were going to come out and say it.
Got that username and password, Holmes. I'm like, you still got it right, then I got
it. Yes, I do. And
right.
I have 0 ads now.
There we go.
Got tired of the ads.
And plus, I have to watch House of Dragons too. So
it comes in handy.
Well, all right. Well, with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody who joined us tonight: Deb, Ace, Cricket Commish, Jeremy, and all the other Plunksters that tuned in to watch us discuss all things Chicago baseball and a little bit of basketball. But now it's time to say goodbye.
Are we on next week during it's All-Star break? Are we on?
That's a good question. I think we might be off for All-Star break.
Okay.
All right.
Catch up on episodes, everybody, if you missed some during All-Star break.
Cricket Commish said he needs that password, needs that HBO Mizax. I feel you. Commish. All right, Ace. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.